To make the hole for the D-shaped block, I'm going to use the last remaining section in my little pattern here. I'm going to open a sketch here. Now, this one is a little more complicated than it looks. There's probably 5 or 6 ways to do it, but I drew this originally by overlapping 2 shapes. That's the way I'm going to show you. So I'm going to start out with a circle. Not worried about its size yet. I'm then going to start out with a center rectangle. I'm going to come near the center of the circle and pull horizontally so that the center of my circle and the center of my rectangle line up. I'm also going to try to match about the same size, but we can always add things in a few minutes. Using my dimensions, I'm going to start out with dimensioning the circle as a 2-inch diameter. I'm also going to dimension this length as a 2-inch length. I am going to make this the 0.75. I also am going to use a center line drawing from the center rectangle to the center point of the circle. You'll notice in my case that line is not horizontal because as I shifted this dimension, it shifted down. It did not keep that relationship that I needed. So I draw that center line. Then when I click on the center line, I can make it horizontal. That will force those two to line up. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dimension, and as I have right here, I'm going to go from the center of the circle to this edge right here, and that was supposed to be 0.75. Now you can see things are starting to connect. I have a lot of extra lines though, so I'm going to get rid of the extra lines before I worry about fine-tuning this so that it's fully defined. I'm going to get trim entities, trim to closest. I don't need this. You'll notice some of my stuff went away, and we'll work with that as we get to the end here. I'm pretty sure I know what the problem is. It should be this dimension right there, and in fact it is. The problem is we used a diameter dimension. That, as soon as it's no longer a circle, is a radius. Oh, I'm sorry, it looks like I don't need that dimension. Oh, I did miss a trim right there. Don't forget the little parts too. So we're going to go ahead and smart dimension this because the dimensions it must be wanting must be their location. So we'll put it at the 1.25. And from 1.25, and from this to the edge, I'm going to dimension as 2.25 because I have a 1-inch radius arc here. So from this midpoint to the edge is the 1.25 that'll match the other shapes. At this point, I am fully defined. And I will now go ahead and sketch fillet my 2 corners. Once that has been done, I'm going to exit the sketch, extrude cut through all, creating the hole that would accept the D-shaped block.